Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. My latest ebook is called Riverdance Clash of the Dancers. And the dancers in question are Jean Butler and Michael Flatley, the lead dancers in the original production, the 6-minute version that premiered at the Eurovision Song Contest in 1994, which I attended, and Riverdance the show that premiered the following year, and which I also attended when it got its world premiere at the Point Theatre in Dublin. As it transpired, during that period I was working for the Irish Times, Hot Press magazine, and I was a contributor to the art show on RTE Radio 1. And in all those media outlets, I celebrated Riverdance loudly and proudly. I tell that tale in the backstory of my ebook. And I tell a tale about the origins of Riverdance, which has not been told elsewhere to this day. Certainly, the behind-the-scenes story has never been told in this way, and it probably won't be because of confidentiality clauses that apparently were written into Riverdance contracts after an interview I did with its composer Bill Whelan. But this ebook focuses on Butler and Flatley, and the opening paragraph of that backstory is as follows. In 1996, when I interviewed Michael Flatley, how could I have known that our little chat would leave Jean Butler incensed? Or know that a year later, she would deliver, via another interview with me, what my editor correctly described as a blistering broadside against Flatley, or that the latter would end up scolding me as if I were a wayward child. But Riverdance Clash of the Dancers, despite its title, is about far more than the battle between Michael Flatley and Jean Butler, who from the start I felt was being sidelined, which is why she gets more space in my book and in this podcast. In it, you will hear both present opposing perspectives. Riverdance Clash of the Dancers is available from Amazon and will soon be available on Apple iBooks, and the original articles you can read at joejacksoninterviewer.com.
Well, you also said that you tried to bring the fire and sexual overtones of flamenco into what you did in Riverdance. I mean, where did that influence come from?
It came from inside. No, it just came from inside.
Why flamenco?
Oh, I just love the passion of their body movements. I just love that feel, that strength. It's the masculine and the feminine. It's the opposites. It's the energy that they create. That's what I tried. That is exactly
where did you see that? Who did you see dancing that way?
Well, I've seen lots of different flamenco dancers and tapes and stuff, and I love that kind of thing. It just seems very passionate to me. I mean, Maria Pacas to me is one of the sexiest women in the world, and what a pro.
Right.
It was just fun to dance with that woman.
But there is that tension between male and female, isn't it? Male and female intercourses and within the individual. I mean, you always get this kind of circular motion.
Right.
You know, I mean, is that part of what attracts you to it?
Oh, sure. There has to be both. There has to be both in everyone, and there certainly has to be both on stage. That's real important, I believe. That's incredibly important. So, for me, when Riverdance, when it first came, Bill Whelan met me over in Diggs Lane, the dance studio, and he had one piece of music. It was da 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 da. It was a gorgeous piece of music. I remember thinking, wow, that is really good. So we went a night later, and then I was over in his house the next day, and it occurred to me during that night, from the story that we were trying to tell about this woman coming in off the water, the first thing that jumped out at me is that there has to be the tension. You have to create tension in order to be able to relieve it at the end.
Okay.
We needed that.
Yeah.
So there had to be at least more than 3 or 4 shades, and we ended up having 7 different shades in that. There was the choir that opened it up.
Right.
Then I had to have Jean come out because she was that graceful elegance that sort of made everything, everybody sort of swoon. It was that.
Okay.
And then we had to have a very dramatic change, and it couldn't just be music. There needed to be drums to say this is going to be different. Okay. It had to be that. So then there's the male energy that came on. Then in order for me to get her to come back, I had to show off to her. That's why we put in this little thing with the drums. So I'm sort of doing this little thing to her. Then she comes out and we play this little thing that was a touch of flamenco maybe there, or a touch of that feeling together, right? Then the celebration. And then at the end, the final last straw was the da-da-da-da-da-da, went back into 6/8 time, into the straight jig. Because why? The audience could hold on to the finish. It's the same da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean?
All right.
And that's the way I looked at that.
And then comes the climax.
Yeah, that's right. With any luck.
Okay, so just that aspect of what has been said is that I think people have misread the sexy element that as if it's just you and Jean, looking at it, looking like a couple who wanted to couple, whether you wanted to or not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But that it was also an assertion of sexuality in a body sense, which is denying the kind of the older traditional style of keep your hands down and deny that there's any kind of physical energy apart from you keep moving. Would you have been aware of that you were striking out against that? Now, I know you've always used your arms, but that's always been part of your history. But are you also aware that you were kind of kicking up the dust in that area?
Well,
Or no? Or has this been applied after the event?
well, to be honest with you, so many people for so long were so against me doing it that I felt like, I just was like a bull trying to burst out there that night. I felt that was really important too, but I also felt from working with our troupe, they were dying to do it.
All right.
They were dying to do it. And it said to me that if I've got 20 or 30 dancers that were dying to do it, it would seem that most people would be dying to see that. I just had that feeling. Now, getting close to the event, there were certain individuals that came and said, please don't try this. Please don't do this. Pull at the last second. And I kept saying, look, I'm just a hired gun here, but you brought me in because I do this. Don't get cold feet now.
Don't cut my bullets.
No,
away.
not
Don't
right
take my
now.
bullets
Not
away.
right now. Not right now. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, I felt that there's just so much more to this than meets the eye. And really, at the end of the day, it's energy. It's energy. Whether everybody emits that energy, whether it's sexual energy or whatever it is, it comes out there. And what we are really doing when we're dancing, it's not the steps, it's the energy that we're putting out. Every one of us genuinely loved being out there. And I think even through the show, we just loved it, man. I couldn't wait. I could tell you just the feel of being out there. And that's what we're doing. Even in the Riverdance the show, in our new show, it's an overabundance of good energy coming at you as hard and fast as possible.
But it's sexual stroke spiritual.
I think so.
I didn't
Tolerate
serve any purpose to Michael, except that I distracted the adulation from him.
All right.
Do you know what I mean?
But according to the story, you were the romantic foil, and he said in that interview that when you were supposed to come on as this kind of vision, and that would like soothe things for a while, he could bring back on his potency. You know, that kind of thing. You were a foil to his vibrancy.
Yeah, it's very much gender based.
that kind of thing, the gender, and you were to kind of.
But I think the problem with that was that it wasn't a passive role, as passive as he might have liked it to be, in the sense that I was quite powerful in that.
On stage.
On stage.
Yes. Yeah.
So it wasn't. I mean, if you look at Lord of the Dance now, everybody that's given any kind of solo time is there to make Michael look better.
Right.
I mean, the two leading ladies that he have are very able, fantastic dancers. They're very young. They're not particularly beautiful.
All right.
They're very attractive, but they wouldn't be shocking on stage. You know what I'm saying? But it's also different levels because they're young. They're under him. I wasn't under Michael. I was competing on the same level as him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he couldn't just turn around and push me under the carpet because I wouldn't have stood for it.
You did your own steps,
Oh yeah.
didn't you? So how did that work? I mean, Mavis was working and Michael was working at another level, but you were dictating, this is what I do within those parameters. Like he would say, as you said earlier, this is your set, this is your time, this is what I would like of you.
Who? Michael said of me? No. I had, I was opening the sequence. What I did in that was my business.
Was it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you always need feedback. Mavis was there at the time saying that works, maybe you should try this here. But it all came from me. Like Michael never said, oh, I don't like that. I mean, he didn't even see what I was doing until I did it.
But did he not tell you, like he claims in that this is what he wanted you to be? Ethereal, romantic and all these things, and then let me go into my style.
No. I think it's all,
Okay.
I think...
Right after the event?
Exactly.
Okay.
It wasn't conceived that way. It was just perceived that way. You know what I mean? It happened after the fact. It's like, yeah, actually it is really sexy. And yeah, this is what we certainly wanted, something very modern, very new. And there had to be some kind of tension. And I think that wouldn't have happened, I don't think, unless it was, this might be bold, but Michael and myself. Because of my edge to match him. Whereas if it had been kind of a 16-year-old who had no performance experience, I think it wouldn't have worked as well. The balance wouldn't have been as tense.
Okay. He also said there had to be sexual chemistry between him, and I have to ask you, did you fancy him?
Not in the slightest.
You said you'd have to ask her that, as you said there.
I know. I remember that. You'd have to ask her that. That's such a Michael answer. Leave it open to I can't even say. But that was another reason why. I think that was another reason why the sexual tension worked so well, is because
it was tension.
It was tension. He knew that there was no possible way he was gonna get me in the couch in Lily's bordello. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't.
Okay.
I was not
Did you-
available for such, or even,
You were what?
I was
Not
not
available?
available for such, or could be approached in such a way because I kept myself at that level. You know,
Was there ever a situation where you had to stake your ground, stake your territory, and say, well, it's not
Michael?
on? Yeah.
no, because that's what I'm saying. It
It was
was,
understood from the
yeah.
outside.
I mean, there was no way.
But don't just go back to the show. Go back to the original, the Eurovision. You know, what your original kind of perception of that was. Kind of
I didn't
you
know if
felt.
it was going to work. I was happy with that piece, and I thought it was a brilliant original piece.
But that evening, like, I mean, Michael has said that the moment when you hit the audience, I mean, what about on an emotional or artistic level for you when you saw that charge from the feedback from the audience? Surely it went beyond a little gig with a few.
To
Or
be
did it?
absolutely honest, and I mean this, there was an amazing buzz out of the night, but I still can't even actually remember feeling or understanding or comprehending what was going on. And if you look at the video, and I often have, but at the end of it, you know, I saw myself jolt just as we finished from the original Eurovision. And I did jolt because it was finished and I was delighted and I didn't fall and this didn't happen and that didn't happen. But after that, we were standing there and there was the applause. I was just going, get me a drink. You know, I just remember that. And there was the stage man had like a thing of whiskey as we were walking off, and that's all I wanted, you know. Just,
All right.
but if you look at Michael's reaction and mine, he was like, this is it. Like, I have arrived. And I was kind of going,
Pointing to the glass of whiskey and saying, that is it.
I think I you know, even now it's very hard to, people always ask me that question, and I honestly was just numbed by the whole thing. It wasn't like, oh, I'm fabulous, you know. I was just like numbed and not really knowing what the whole thing meant or was about, and you know.
So it didn't seem like the realization of adolescent dreams and all that stuff and aspirations and that.
No.
No?
No.
Sorry.
No. I mean, as a professional, I wanted to just get out there and do the best job that I could, you know. And because I saw it as another gig, that's what it was. I had no idea what this Eurovision Song Contest was.
Okay.
You know, I'm an American over here. The only thing that was kind of unnerving was the fact that, like, it's aired to how many thousands of millions of people.
Yeah.
So I kind of forgot about that and said, oh, there's only 2.5 here. It's okay. You know what I mean?
Okay. Whoever's in
Forget
the
about the
auditorium.
cameras. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the auditorium
yeah,
here,
yeah.
you know?
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I will do more podcasts based on my ebook Riverdance Clash of the Dancers, which, as I say, is available from Amazon. And the original articles, as I also said, are available from my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com.